You're listening to the Real Estate Growth Investor Circle Canada with your host, Gob. This is a safe space for immigrants, entrepreneurs, and future investors who are learning, growing, or taking their first steps in real estate. Here, we move with patience, focusing on clarity, confidence, and progress, one step at a time. Each episode is about real conversations, simple explanations, and honest stories from people who started right where you are and didn't give up. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, unsure, or discouraged, you're not alone. This podcast is here to guide, encourage, and remind you that growth is possible. Welcome to Growth Investor Circle to Real Estate Investing in Canada and around the world. Here's Gob.
Hello everyone, this is Growth Investor Cycle for Canadian investors, for everyone who's trying to get into real estate. Today we have a man who understands both sides, how to be an investor and how to be a realtor. It's going to be an awesome day because we are going to discover both sides of the market. He plays both roles. He understands better how we can evaluate property. He understands all of that, which is an amazing day, and I'm so happy and blessed. I won't say too much about him. I'm going to let the man himself introduce himself to this podcast. Sonny, Paul, go ahead.
Thank you for having me. And we're going to have a great day of discussing how real estate works and what type of investments we should get into and what type of investors we should avoid. So I'm excited. Let's go.
Well, it's not just a friend to me. He's a brother because we kind of connect a few days ago. I went to Windsor and it was really a blast to have to see Paul and to chat with him. Paul, tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you start real estate?
I started at a really young age. I started when I was like around 13. I started researching properties. I started drawing properties. So I was obsessed from a really young age. And I didn't want to play video games. I just wanted to learn about real estate, and it was just exciting to me. When I was at that age, I was able to search properties for my family members who bought at that time and then help them sell at a later age, maybe like around 14, 15, just putting like ads in grocery stores with the number and saying, hey, 3-bedroom house for sale. So I remember like that, at a young age. I started later on. I got my license in real estate, and then that's when I dived in more. But before I got my license, I got into my first investment property. So, and that was at the age of 21. All I knew was give a deposit and save. It was a builder property. So it was helpful because when you're first time buying a property and you don't have 100% of the down payment, it's better to start get a builder project. But sometimes you got to be careful, not for a very long term closing. Something a little bit short, maybe 1 year or 2 years. That's much better to get into it. All this structure allowed me to get my first property, and that got me rolling. Then I got my second, giving a deposit, and then also meeting the deposit requirements. And that's how the ball started rolling.
Okay. Many people I interviewed here on this podcast, many people have mentioned that you need like someone to look up to, like a mentor or a figure dad, someone who really been in skin in the game, who knows the real estate market. So many people are listening to us right now. What can you tell them? Do they need a coach or a mentor to get started into real estate, or it's just you can just go and do it? What is your mindset about that?
If I look back when I started in the real estate business, I didn't really there was a few people I've heard of, that are buying properties, they're investors, they're making good money. But I did a lot of YouTube videos, I watched, but somewhere there, you need that self-motivation, to get going as well. You want to get things done. And knowing that, real estate is a good investment if you look at the charts, you look back 30, 50 years, all you see is a line going up. So knowing that, the real estate business does reward, yes, it's good to have mentorship. It depends really. If you're buying your first property, don't really need much of a mentorship. But if you're getting into the investment business where you're buying properties and you're renovating them, or you're buying and doing some whatever improvements in the long term and then selling, then you need, some mentorship. Mentorship can kick in earlier or later. It really depends on the individual when they need it best.
So with that, are you telling me, if I hear exactly, from your perspective, when you started, you didn't seek for a coach, you didn't do anything? Did you have like a father figure who helped you in
Oh,
tell
no.
us a little bit.
No, my parents were against going into real estate. Even them, at a young age, like when I was helping my family members to get into real estate and I was motivating them, they were renters, right? Most of their life. And for about maybe 15, 20 years, they rented. So when we got into the real estate investing, they were absolutely against it, right? So, but when I got the first property, second property, and they saw the money, they when I sold one property and some I took out equity, then then they realized, they understood, there is money to be made in this business. And then it took some time, to get there. I would say for me, with self motivation, but it doesn't apply for everybody. Sometimes you do need that extra kick or extra motivation by having a mentor. But when the mentorship really works is when you have multiple properties and now you're going into that next level, and you got to be around the people that are at the next level so you can learn from them. So that's when the mentorship comes in. But there's a lot of content on YouTube, even like your channel. This is what helps people get that motivation and get them going. First step, buying a first property, you can do that even with the help of a good realtor, right? They can guide you how to get your first property. But then going into the next level, then you need people like us to guide the right direction and make the right investments and don't lose money.
Yeah, I have never seen someone who just who didn't seek for coaching, or like I have, like I say, I have interviewed many investors on this podcast, and I can tell you are one of them who really just got himself motivated and get to this. Especially having parents who's against this, it could be tough in decision making. Well, so I really understand that, and I want to dive into that. When did you sign your first property? Walk me to the feelings you felt. Is this something I can do for the rest of my life? How did you feel? I want to hear the feeling that you had.
I was excited. I was nervous. I had payments due because there was a schedule I had to follow. I was working a commission job in sales, so it wasn't like consistent income coming in. I think that's what kind of led me to work harder and make more money because there was no limitations on my payroll. So say example, if I'm only making at that time 50,000, then my expenses, are, let's just say, around 40,000, then I know only 10,000 I have left to put towards the down payment structure. But in the commission role, I was able to work extra hours and go for that extra money. Like if I need 20,000 extra, I can make 70, I can make 80. So that's what opened the doors. And you kind of have to be in that type of position to know, there's ups and downs, even in sales. And that's how even real estate is. It's not going to be continuously up, right? People have to know when you see the stock market, it goes a little down, goes up, but it's more real than the stock market, right? It's an actual asset, and it's more steady. You're not going to wake up in the morning and go, oh, this asset dropped 10%, right? It doesn't work like that. Maybe in stocks it could, but not in real estate. It happens slowly, whatever direction it goes. So that's what I was nervous when I first got into the investment, but then at a later stage, I got excited. I'm like, okay, as I'm hitting, I started learning how to budget, how to save money aside, how to work, make more money, right? So my mindset changed. Some people, they go, when they're getting into the investment, they kind of go, how do I save more money? How do I cut down my expenses? I've thought like that as well. But the same time, I was like, how do I make more money? How do I work harder? How can I make that extra income when I can put towards the property? And that's what really molded me in a certain way. And I feel like, those life experiences kind of change you for who you are.
I appreciate that for sharing that. Since I want to stay in that train of thoughts there. You
Yes.
talked about the market.
Yes.
We know that Windsor right now is, would say, like buyers are picking the best out of the best. They are picking. They are really picky on choosing the right property. Give me an. Can you explain a little bit about that? What are you been experiencing with that That exactly what I just said.
Yes. So there's different types of buyers, right? There's the first time home buyers who are looking for their first property to get into. They most likely are not putting that much down payment because there's a lot of programs to the government. You can put under 20%, as low as 5% down. And those are the type of buyers that don't want to, especially in the Windsor area. Windsor area properties are, majority of the properties are older. They're like around 100 years. So you, they don't want to buy a property where they have to put extra money from their pocket and renovate it. That would be like more than 20% down, right? So what's the point of even taking that program if you're going to have to put more money end of the day? So those buyers are looking for renovated properties. They're looking for upgraded properties which they can buy, put 5% down, close, and not look at repairs the next couple years. So that's one segment of the type of buyers there are. Then there's the investors. Investors are looking for deals. They're looking for properties where they can buy and put some money into, add value, and then sell it and make a profit. And I've noticed for both markets, and even right now, people are looking at the market and they're saying it's like low from the peak. It's depending on what market, what city you're in, anywhere from 15% to 25% low. But what I'm looking at is what the supply availability is for the supply. And the supply right now, like I don't see in Windsor area, I don't see good supply, a lot of good supply. And you probably noticed this as well too. We go back and forth with properties all the time. And it's very hard to find good properties where you can make money, or properties that for first time home buyers that can move in, renovate it. There's very few. So that just tells me that, if we're at the lowest peak of the market, there's sooner or later there will be a rebound coming, because if this is a supply now, imagine later in the springtime, what it would be. So yeah, that's what I'm experiencing. There's different types of buyers. Yeah. And the renters, the ones that buy properties and hold and keep, that's what we've seen a huge decline in. So the investors, that their mindset switched. Some of them don't even want to buy properties for rentals and keep for long term. Like their mindset switched to flipping, buy, improve, and sell. They want to exit. Well, and a big reason for that is because of the Landlord and Tenancy Act. It favors more towards the tenants. So if a tenant stops paying rent today, then what happens is that it takes couple months in the whole process to even get your case, heard in the Landlord and Tenancy Act. And then from there, decision coming. And then from there, if they still don't pay, then you got to go to court and sue them. And that whole process takes perhaps even over a year, right? In some cases, depending on case by case. So that's why a lot of investors who used to hold properties to rent, now they're thinking, they're like, if we're making 10%, let's just say they're making 10% from their cash flow, they're making around that much money. Now they can lose that 10, 15, 20% if it's a bad tenant. So people are going more into flipping mode, and first time home buyer, though, that's what I'm seeing right now in the marketplace in Windsor.
We thank you for sharing that, because it's the same thing that we are seeing in Canada in general,
All across.
especially in Ontario. We can see that investors are looking for to get in and get out. There are
Yes.
no pitching for, there are no one, they don't want to stay for long-term investment because of that challenge you just mentioned,
Yes.
which I really, I'm really hoping people who's listening to us are taking value into what you just said, because it's exactly what I'm experiencing. But I'm not living in Windsor right now. It's the same thing, the same shift, the same trend that we are seeing. What I'll add on that, I would say smart investors, they don't wanna stick into a property for a long term. Of course, there is a different type of investors, but the ones we I came across with, they are smart investors. They want to get their money back right away. They don't want to stick to a property for a long term, and it is a property that will cash flow
Yes.
at the same day. They want to get their money right when they get in. They don't have time to waste. What can you say about that?
Yes. So if you want to hold the property long term, there's different types of properties that you can hold. Multi-residential is lower risk because imagine, like, if you have 3 units, right? One person doesn't pay rent, you're still getting income from the other 2 units. And if you buy a property, you improve it, you can do refinance, which is buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. So that process exist. But it works better in multiple units because you're diversifying. You're not relying on one tenant. You have a couple tenants that you're relying on, and you can pull your equity out. But that's not for everybody. That's a different level of investing. You need some experience. With the types of properties, you need more capital. If there's 3 units involved, there's more money involved. So that comes at a later stage. In the early stage, if somebody is going in the investing business right now, what's more attractive is buy, improve, sell, take your money, and then build that the savings, right? Increase the amount of capital you're working with, and then you can go in those type of projects as well. So it's project by project, but majority of the market that used to be holding and renting, I would say around 80% have exit from the rental business. It's not for everybody, right? Before it was easy. You can buy property, hold it. Prices are going up. Yeah, you're making money. Now it's, not like that. If the prices are steady, then how do you,
Make
be
money.
profitable, right? In that business. And the rates are higher too, because before the rates were lower, now the rates are a little bit higher. Yeah, they dropped a bit, but from going like 2.5% to like 4 and some change or around there, people's payments are almost double at renewals, right? So now in certain areas of why Windsor, because in Windsor you're still able to at least pay your expenses on the property or make some type of cash flow. But in certain areas of GTA, I lived in GTA most of my life in Toronto, and people are in negative situation in rentals. They're paying 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, out of their pocket because of the rates, because of the rent. Rent also declined because of the way the availability is in Toronto. More and more units coming and more buildings coming, and that's like that across, but Toronto more because the amount of new construction that's completing. But in other areas also, there has been a little bit of rent decrease in demand with all the immigration going back. So there's many, many reasons why these investors are stepping back when it comes to long-term rental investments and single homes especially. So if you're going to multi-residential, then there's some flexibility there.
Yeah, thank you, Paul, for sharing that. What I want to talk about, because in the opening of this podcast, I talked about that you understand both sides, being an investor and being a realtor. What can you tell us on the other side? What we don't know yet. When you represent a buyer, what do you see, what are you seeing on their part? What is their mind about, a mindset about everything that's going on right now?
The buyers that I've encountered the past couple years, even last year, they're more into buying a property that is, like I mentioned, like renovated, that don't need to spend extra money on. Right now, people are really into a crunch when it comes to the amount of down payment they have, savings they have. Yes, they can enter into the market because the rates are a little bit less and prices drop, but at the same time, they don't have the flexibility of having extra money to spend on the property. So people are looking for upgraded properties. That's what I've noticed with the buyers. That's like the first time home buyers or people who are living in the premise, not investing. The investors are looking for properties that make money, and even those there's not that many in the marketplace right now. That's a shocking thing, but there's not.
What about the seller?
The sellers are like look, it depends. There's different cycles. Some people bought like 30 years ago, right? And they're making pure profit. But there's also people we're seeing that are selling because they cannot make the payments on their property. They're not able to either rent it or they're losing money. They bought it for a higher price and now they're selling. They lost their down payments. There's a lot of power sales that are increasing. So it depends on who the seller is. If it's a senior person who bought the property 30 years ago, he's laughing, he's making money. But if it's someone that bought a couple years ago, they're in losses. The prices are good, but it's just the supply is not. I don't see a lot of good supply right now. So, that really makes me think where the resistance line is, and especially, with all the government stuff happening and the trades, so we watch that very carefully. There's a direct connection. People think, oh, why watch the news? What's happening in the government or the countries or the world. It really plays a big, big role in how the markets move in the next couple of months. With the good news that we heard recently. Finally, we heard some good news. China and Canada making some trade deals, especially when US is cutting down with the
Yeah.
business it does with Canada, that makes a huge effect on it creates this invisible resistance line where, where markets could pick back up, so where it is, let's see, right? We watching, but that's how it goes.
I want to take you back. I know you have experienced both market when the market wasn't working well and when the market is going to work well. Because as investor, we believe that it can be up and down, but as you said, it's not like a stock market where you it could be like a slower moving to a different market. It's not like it doesn't jump like as you mentioned earlier. I want to take you back to, during COVID. There is a
Yes.
specific why I'm trying to bring you back there because
Yes.
it was a COVID market. That's how I call it.
Yes.
How can you describe that market compared to this one that we have right now? Tell me, is any see? I would say compare. You can compare both and see. Tell us which one was more scary.
Yes. So prior to COVID market, 2017 introduced the stress test, right? Which was now it was a little bit harder for people to qualify, right? So what happened at that time, the market went down almost or around, depending on what market, what city you're in, close to 20%, right? And it was a quick drop. It happened within, I believe, 8 months, right? The prices went down. And I got into, at that time, we were quarterly doing investments. So I remember like I got into this one investment and what happened is stress test got introduced, prices dropped. So that was like my first taste into the markets adjusting. And people see that as in like, okay, they get scared. They go, okay, oh, this happened, the prices dropped. I'm never gonna do real estate again. You got to be made for the game. If you want to get into this business, you got to have the tolerance for the ups and downs, just like every business, right? It can be a restaurant, it can be anything, right? When you're running a business, you're not going to have a steady growth. You're going to see some downs and ups. The downs are the part where you learn the most. So at that time, I dived in more into research, into learning the markets. And I believe around then I got my license, and I started really studying the MLS, right? Learning how the trends are working. And when you're in a certain peak, you learn like how to read the markets better. Of course, I didn't predict that, stress tests would come and then, the prices would drop, but that was my first taste. I held the property. I held it and I sold it later on with a profit. But and my strategy went from short term to long term. So sometimes you have to switch your strategies according to the markets. So that was my first taste. Then in 2020, it felt like the world was ending. So there's this virus, everybody's hiding, wearing like gloves and masks and all these type of things, right? It was a scary time. But because of the experience in 2017, I knew like, when prices drop, that's when you go and buy, right? Warren Buffett says it's the best, right? And you buy when people are fearful, right? So that's when you become greedy, right? So what happened was in 2020 when the people thought the world was ending, and they were scared, and prices were actually dropping for real estate because there was less transactions, people weren't out there. I went and started looking for properties to buy. Right? I knew I'm like, if the world ends, it ends. But at the same time, at least if it doesn't end, then what? Right? If the markets, you rather take advantage of it. If the prices are down during COVID, you enter, right? Anytime when very smart investors who do this at a larger scale know how to take advantage of these things. So I would say during COVID, that was the time when some people made the most amount of money entering at the right time and then exiting at the right time. Exit was really, really nice in 2022, right? Just 2 years after, right? Prices were already 20-30% up from the peak.
Yeah, and if you compare the COVID market and this market, what can you tell us that what did you notice that's more like we can learn from it?
Yes, COVID markets, for many it was a scary time, but at a later stage, when the government started giving money, out to businesses, a lot of businesses got around 60 to 80,000, I believe, around there, for small businesses, and then people started getting $2,000 paychecks, right, from the government. I've noticed that there was a huge growth in the amount of capital that was in the market. People started taking that money and going buying real estate. That's what I've noticed, right? So it just, there was a huge, as the market was rebounding from the COVID time and prices were going up, there was more capital injecting in the market. Everybody wanted to get into it. They're noticing, like, people have already experienced this the previous years, prices going up, right, in real estate. Now they already heard about it. So it was action time. Now they had the capital too. So COVID time, there's a lot of money printed. There's a lot of money given. There's a lot of money in the market. People were spending money on stuff like, like crypto or buying like coins that had no value. That's the amount of money that there was there. There was also a tech boom that happened around it. So,
Mhm.
and a huge amount of money invested in tech companies, and now those companies are there. It's declining, right? Because it's just too early. It feels, all this technology was coming at that time. So, I feel like there's always opportunity in every market, right? In low markets, we look at like when there's a low market as opportunity, right? That's just the way we're wired now, and it's very rewarding if you get in at a low peak and you exit at a high peak, right? So it's just opportunity.
As we're listening, sometime I get questions from audience who's listening to us right now.
Yes.
And I have a question I just selected from one of the audience.
Yes.
They trying to understand how was the market changed? Has the market changed a lot since you started investing into real estate?
It's more, I feel like real estate, like there, if you look at history, right? When you research history, even in real estate, when you get your property appraised, what does the appraiser do? He goes back 90 days. He looks back up to 90 days if he finds any comparable properties, and he compares and determines a value based on the previous history, right? So when we look at the previous history, we can go back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years. It's the same thing repeating again and again and again. We see there's highs, there's lows, events happen in the world, prices drop, and then it just rebounds and keeps climbing up and up and up and up. So that's just how I overall see real estate. Really gotta, so automatically, like the way we're wired is when there's markets are going, in a different direction, it just it's just the same thing. It's just repeating again and again, right? And you have to time it right. That's what will make you a good investor in the long term. You have to just time the markets right by taking, the opportunity of having low markets. So that's what I've learned. There's nothing. It's just the same thing repeating again.
Okay, that's clearly clear. If you want, for those who want to get in the market and live in the past, it won't be
Yes.
that would happen. They won't be adjusting themselves based on the market change. So I think that, as Paul Sunny just said, you have to keep adjusting yourself. Don't
Yes.
live in the past, in the present. You just to keep adjusting as we are going through the market.
Yes. The world moves with each other, right? 90% of the world will go one direction and 10% will go another. So example, right now, markets, prices are lower from the peak. People are scared. Rates are a little bit higher than they were during COVID time. People are fearful, right? They're moving a certain direction. And those type of timings, right, is when the opportunities open for the remaining 10%, right? When people are fearful, selling, dropping prices, that's when these savvy investors come in, and then they go and they scoop up the properties, and then they buy at a lower rate, and then they sell it at a peak. So so don't follow the remaining people. Don't listen to like even family would go, why are you getting into real estate? Why are you gonna, it's risky, or is this or is that, right? You gotta ignore that noise, right? You gotta focus on history and the stats and how during the 2008 crash, look how many people made money afterwards buying into the low prices at that time. A lot of companies, a lot of corporations made a lot of money, right? Taking advantage of that, right? But then there was the 90% that left, right? And they went a certain direction, but there was that small percentage that took a different route. So, you just gotta take the opportunity. You cannot ignore it. and you can't be scared, right? In this business, you have to have that mindset. Even if you lose a little bit of money here and there, it's fine, right? It's okay. You make money too in the future. But if you don't do nothing, you're making nothing either way, right? So you have to take action. That's you got to have some tolerance. You have to build that tolerance. Either you watch YouTube videos, you learn from people, mentorship. I was kind of like, I'm gonna be honest, I was a little bit like just born for that, right? When I was just like, let's go, right? Whatever it is, because I just always believed in real estate, right? I
Yeah.
just felt like it can't
I
let you
am
down.
happy. I am happy that you mentioned about mindset. Let's stay
Yes.
on that topic. One of I usually select three questions about mindset
Yes.
because I believe everything starts with the right mind.
Yes.
Okay, and one of the questions I selected was mind's shift was required to move from operator to true investor. Do you
Yes.
understand that question?
Yes. The mindset, it's comes with experience, right? First, when you get in your first property, second property, that's more like, you need the positive mindset of getting into it and that motivation. But later on, what really matters to go to the next level is experience, right? How to deal with tenants, how to deal with contractors, make sure the jobs are done on time and within budgets. And so those type of things just came at a later stage. And once you gain that experience and you do like one or two properties where you see it all play out, then that the mindset enhances. Then you can take on more. And that's what molds you into a good investor. Experience is really needed at a certain stage in order to go to the next level. So that's what really took me there, right? And in between that, yes, I've hired the wrong contractors. I've lost money. They've taken extra time. People messed around. And I was not. And what I really believe in is when you're investing in an area, you have to go there. That's why you came, right? You came into
Mhm.
Windsor. We went around. We actually seen properties, and the ones that look really good in the pictures. The biggest problem is people, sometimes see in the pictures and they go, okay, I want to buy this, right? But no, that's very risky. You noticed it firsthand. We walked in the properties, the one that looked good in the pictures, we're like, no, this doesn't look the same, right? We would actually lost money if we bought this property, right? Because it looks good in the pictures, everything looks nice, big rooms. When you actually go in there, you see like the size of the rooms, the capability of what kind of value add can we do, what kind of exit strategy there is on this. So you have to do the walk, you have to go into the properties. So that's all experience, right? You learn from it. The more properties you see, the better you get. The more transactions you do, the better you get. So to go to the next level, you have to go to the experiences. Every time we've went through experience where we lost money hiring the wrong contractor, it just made us better. We went into the city, we found the right contractors, we built the team, and a team that's reliable, that delivers, and very efficient in price as well. So those type of things are, experiences and things that help you mold in a way where you can be that next level investor, right? Where you can go to the next level.
I want to add on that little bit. When I purchased my first property, it was in 2021, in
Yes.
2021. And it was a time where, there was a bidding war. Everyone was bidding. You want to buy this property, you have to be in a game of bidding.
Yes.
And we lost some money on the property we
Yes.
bought last time.
Yes.
But what I learned that you just said that keep me move forward and going to the next level is the right information. I think when I got into real estate, I didn't have the right information in front of me. I was listening to neighbors, to friends, to family, and those are the you should stay away from those people.
Yeah, yeah. Look, you can't take advice from people who have no experience in the game, right? Like that's as simple as it is. You have to go to, take advice from the people who walk the walk and have the experience, right? So even for me, I come from a traditional Indian family, and some families just believe in, okay, go to work. You have your 9 to 5 job and you have to stick to that. That's the most, consistent way to live life and a stable way, right? So going, self-employed and investing in certain things is risky. It's not stable and all these things. I've been hearing that my whole life, right? But I'm a type of person. If somebody tells me don't do this, I'm gonna go right and explore it, right? So if they, and I'm going to do it by the experience. Like I see people making money in the business, even from, I go on YouTube and I see investors, I see people in the city that are making money. I'm going to go ask them, right? So ignore that, you want to be different, you want to make money. You can't listen to the people that don't have the experience, So, and some of them learn, family learn at a later stage. Okay. Yeah. When you're buying those extra things and you're having, you're living a little bit of a more fancier life, right? Then they understand, okay, yes, this thing does work, right? It is stable. And that time they acknowledge that, right? So you got to stay strong and motivate yourself.
Yeah, let's take on that trend of that there. I know you mentioned something about negative belief or your environment can affect definitely your decision making the right decision. And as for someone who doesn't have experience at all, who's trying to start this business, who doesn't know anything, what can you tell them to start doing?
Would say, like, distance yourself from negativity, right? That's number one. And then learn also how to ignore it. So, if even if someone is saying something negative, 1 year in, another year out, right? You must stick to your game plan. Believe in yourself, right? And that's when, like, when we were talking about, when you need mentorship, when you don't need, for some people, they need it, right? They need that mentorship. They need someone to say, hey, like us, like, ignore that, right? And follow the right track. So follow your game plan, right? Just ask yourself, how much experience does this person have in this business? So why should I listen to them, right? Why should I listen to this person who has the experience, right? So just learn how to ignore negativity, keep some distance. I had some people on our team, who we hired to do certain jobs that were so negative. Just walking in the
Mhm.
site, they'll be negative. Oh, this happened, and they'll make excuses, right? This is that. We got rid of them. We said, sorry, we can't work together. Why? Because it's just that environment. I want to walk in positivity. I want to find ways how to get it done. I don't want to sit here, be around people who are always crying about the market. Well, the market is like this, the market is like that. We look for opportunities, right? This is for us, is like, even though as an investor, we all get affected by the price, drop, right? Our portfolios get affected, but we stay positive and we look for opportunities in those markets, because they balance, markets balance. And if you take the opportunity at the right time, then you even become stronger at the in the next couple of years, or the end result, right? So that's, I would just say, surround yourself around people who talk about the business, who are doing the business in today's market, and who are positive, and then distance yourself around negativity.
That's thank you for sharing that because many I have heard so many people are saying, "Oh, I can't start right now. I'm not. I have fear. I'm afraid. I don't have a family who's doing it. I don't have this. I don't have that." I feel like they block themselves by putting all of that in front of them. That really keeps them from taking the next step. And as you said, you just have to separate yourself from those people and trying to see what can you do. It's all about what is inside of you. It's not
Yes.
what is outside.
Yes, and your surroundings really matter. So friends, right? If we have a couple of friends that are sitting there and they're crying about the market, "Oh, this is messed up, or this is messed up. Canada is like this or that," that's the type of environment you're gonna be in. You're gonna be in that negative bubble, and you're not gonna adjust, right? But if you're around people who are doing the business and they're taking advantage and they're winning, right? Or and they have experiences of ups and downs, and they're still at it, right? Those are the type of people that you have to be around. You become the person you're around. Like, it's like, if you have a group of four negative people, you're going to become the fifth negative person, right? And if you're around four positive people who have experience in the business, and you're going to become, the fifth one, right? So that's what I would say. Just change your surroundings.
We have ended almost end for this discussion. We have only few minutes left. I want to talk about one more question I have in mind. What is how do you deal with fear? I won't ask you to go too much in details, but I want to know how do you handle those bad negative believe? How do you deal with those problems in order to overcome and accomplish what you want? How do you handle that?
Fear is not an easy thing to deal with. right? It's when it comes, right? And now I would say the things that help to overcome fear would be is staying positive, maybe a little bit of meditation, working out, getting your mind and blood flowing. Your body has to feel good in order to tackle these negative thoughts and fear thoughts. So I would say like exercise, wake up early, get a head start in the day, research, learn, keep going at it. Like the only thing that can tackle fear is you, right? Your mindset, right? And how to get to that mindset, you must adjust your body's condition, the way your mind works. Early waking up helps. They say early bird catches the worm, right? So you got to get up early before they all get up, and you got to learn about the market, read the news, and understand. Get all that positivity and head start in the day. So it's not like you wake up at, like, say example, 8 o'clock, and you're out and about by 9:30. The day already started, and now you're catching up by, like, afternoon or evening. You don't want that. You want to get it done early. So a lot of that confidence gets made, by your lifestyle habits, what you eat, what you put in your body. If you're putting junk food in your body, it becomes a part of you, right? You're eating
Yes.
healthy stuff like avocado and eggs. You're getting very, you're feeling very healthy, and your brain is working faster. So and those depression feeling and the fearful feelings go away. So healthy lifestyle, right, is number one, I would say, in this business, and it's not easy, right, for many people, right? It's hard, but you got to get there, man. If you want to become that investor, your next level investor, you have to, right, change your lifestyle, and you have to be positive and see the advantageness of doing these things.
Thank you, Sunny. You said it all. You said it better than a therapist, someone who's actually you
Yes.
said it you said it really good. That there it's a mindset shift, Now we are at the end of this podcast. I wanted to ask how people who's listening to us, how they can reach out to you if they want to seek for services, how can they can get in contact with you if they want to stay connect with you, and you can maybe help them on their deal. Maybe you can even represent them because you are both investor and a realtor. So how they can reach out to you?
Yes, they can contact me through Instagram. It's Sunny, SUNNY dot Paul, PAUL dot PZ. Or they can email me at Sunny, SUNNY, at property, Zilla, Zilla with Z. And if you still can't get in touch with me, just reach out to you, and we'll get in touch, right? Anytime. I'm available to help as much as I can do. And, we do take limited clients just because it's business we do. You want to really focus on those clients and deliver. We deal with a lot of investor clients. It's a limited type of clients we're dealing with, but when there's, just reach out, and we'll see how we can help. Yeah.
I can't. You see, the man himself, the only one I know in Windsor who has experience in both real estate and investor is this guy here in front of you guys. So is the only one I know in Windsor. So that is just my thought about this. And I want to thank him so much for all his wisdom and everything he shared. They are valuable and they are important. So thank you so much, brother, and thank you for showing up and share your thoughts about this.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And it was a pleasure to speak to you again. And, we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Real Estate Growth Investor Circle Canada. We hope you learned something valuable today that will help you continue to move forward on your real estate journey. If you need more information or you'd like to reach Gob for a one-on-one, go to growthinvestorcircle@gmail.com. Join us next time for more tips and proven strategies to grow your real estate business. Until next time, remember, progress comes one step at a time.